Oh boy.
Welcome to the Introverted Business Experience. This year's Mark Larsen. Mark, tell me more about you.
Um, well, I live in South Central Nebraska, Minden, Nebraska, exactly. Been doing stuff online for quite a while. I actually started a podcast named The Dreamcatcher about not quite 2 years ago. Just had my 100th celebration episode last week. Um,
Congratulations.
so thank you. So basically, building the Dreamcatcher brand, doing podcasting, working towards doing speaking, maybe TEDx talk, coaching. Love traveling. But actually, what got me all started on this was when my wife had advanced cancer back in 2015.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she had colon cancer everywhere except for her lungs. Didn't
Yeah.
know she was going to live, so she did. She's really tough, much tougher than I am. And we just realized that after that cancer bout, that life is short, and if you're going to do anything, you better do it now because all your promise is right now. And everything we started doing because she had such intense chemo that we just had to have small breaks and do traveling a little bit and just needed to celebrate every day, and that's what we still do. And I know people say that they do quote unquote some days. Well, with Dreamcatcher, I'm there to kind of help you and wake up. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but that you need to celebrate every day. You need to go after your dreams and do it now because they're not going to do it if you don't take action. So that's kind of what we got me to the day was actually cancer. It was
Wow.
the clarity of the cancer because, yeah, cancer does give clarity. You know what's important and what's not after that. So,
Yeah,
so yeah.
my mom always used to say, everybody doesn't get till they do, and
Mhm.
and the reason she said that at the time is because I believe my brother had his first pregnancy, and that didn't go well. We were at
Oh,
this restaurant, and they announced they're pregnant, and literally the same minute, like literally a minute after, they had a miscarriage.
oh,
And my brother is somebody like me. Emotionally, we aren't very um gifted. We aren't very emotional beings. But at that
okay.
very moment, suddenly, all the emotions kick in. So I
They do.
guess often it's big situations like that, that yeah, give you a form of clarity. It's also a form
Oh,
of
yes.
urgency.
It is. Yeah, it really is. I mean, because you don't know all this time that you thought you had coming up. It's just like it's almost immediately taken away from, or you perceive it being taken away from you. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, it is. Yeah, you just never know. So it's been a gift, and so so yeah, that's what got me started doing the podcasting and everything like that. And then I get to meet awesome people like you. I just that's been one of the great things. I get to meet people from all over the world, and so
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
and that I thrive on too. So what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I mean, same thing here, right? Like, that's the benefit of doing podcasts. I believe you get to meet other people, hear their stories. I think that's amazing. Um, because especially, like it's always interesting to see other people's perspective. It's easy to get
True.
so swallowed up in your own story that you might just
Yep.
forget how it is for others. I think that's really, really cool. Now, the dream catcher, you also said something about coaching, what kind of coaching it is that you exactly do.
Actually, I'm starting actually Dreamcatcher University, and I just thought, and this is just still in preliminary, but I want to be the person who wish I'd had when I was wanting to catch my dreams. There's a lot of people out there giving all different kinds of tangents towards catching your dream, but nobody's there kind of taking you from when you're thinking about doing your dream to getting you to where you catch your dream. So it is where I take, depending how long you want to work with me, I take you from if you don't know what your dream is, we drill down to that, and take it all the way through as far as you want to go. If you want to go work with me the whole
Yeah.
way until you have your dream captured. But yeah, I give what I've learned over the years, but clarity to you know, because a lot of people, a mind confused doesn't do anything. A mind confused basically goes back to what it knows,
Yeah.
even if it is, they don't like the person doesn't like it. So I want to be the person they can count on to get them past that bump or whatever, to the next step, so they don't fall back. Because I'm a big fan of ripple. If all those people didn't catch their dreams, there would be all that potential positivity and good in the world that wouldn't get done.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so I'm there just to kind of be a sounding board, support them, let them kind of have their way. But when they need some guidance, I'm there for them on that. So, but yeah, it's definitely growing by the day. My coach and I are working on that, but yeah, Dreamcatcher University. So
It's very exciting, very exciting. Yeah.
so, but yeah, I I've been on this journey for quite some time. Even before my wife's cancer, I was, entrepreneurial, wanted to do stuff like this,
Yeah.
but I started and stopped many times, and then finally the cancer finally did. Plus, I became a coach in 2018, and I didn't know the power of coaches. I have people even today. It's just like, well, coaches are expensive. It's like, no, they're not. They give guidance. They have that insight, and plus they hold you accountable. And that's why it took. Right now, I have three coaches actually, so I'm a big proponent of coaches. But it was just you know, I think you need the guidance and stuff like that, and that's kind of what got me to what I'm doing today. So I think I went off on
Well,
a total tangent there.
I think one of the biggest issues with people and coaches is that first of all, there are so many nowadays, right? It's
True. Yes,
a bit
it
like
is.
SEO, like it's very difficult to rule out who is legitimate and
Yep.
who is good.
True. Yeah.
And you
Very
also
true.
have to find somebody who is a good fit for you personally. But also
Amen.
I think a lot of people they are too immediate, like we live in a society where instant gratification is the norm, right? Like
It
if
is.
you send a text on Facebook, you almost immediately get a reply, and our
Yep.
entire society is built more on like instant reaction on everything that we get. As a result, I believe that our patience level has gone down seriously, like dramatically.
Me too.
And
Yep.
a lot of people I see this in business, and mainly because I was one of them when I first started out, they are so
Uh.
result driven, like they want immediate results. Oh, you give me a piece
Yep.
of advice. If this doesn't help me immediately, then you are bogus. And that's not
Yep.
always the case. Some
True.
like you need consistency. And I feel like
You
that
do.
is a big um part of why a lot of people are so against coaches, as well as the stigma surrounding it, because you see a lot of these ads, right? But then
Yep.
a lot like I got another friend of mine, Phil Drinkwater, and he's a business
Okay.
coach, and I can see that
Okay.
what he shares is quite high quality. So I can see the use of coaches. I just like, yeah, there's still a lot of, especially nowadays, where the quality of the coach is very difficult to get an idea of.
True.
I can see
Yeah.
where that's an issue. Yeah,
Yeah. And it is until you really get in with the coach, you don't know if they're really
yeah,
legit or know anything at all. And you are right. If people don't get instant gratification, it's like I'm on to the next one, and the shiny object syndrome. It's just like
exactly.
onto that one, to that one, to the next one, which gets you nowhere except for probably buying a lot of coaching programs and things like that. And then you finally give up, which is a place you don't want anybody to get either.
No,
So
exactly.
so are you a coach?
No, I am not. Like I do some mentoring on the side, and I would say that my end goal is to become a form of a coach, but
Okay.
not entirely coaching either. I want to go more into the motivational speaking kind of genre.
Ah, cool.
Um, but I do give some business coaching. I do some mentoring on the side when people ask for help. Like I coach them, I help them, but as a service, not yet. But I can see like I think knowledge, people they underestimate. Like my entire business career is basically built on mentors, right? And
Right.
the way you see it, like the way you could see it is, all they are mentors, but in reality, mentors are coaches, right? They're coaching you through
True.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I would say I do understand the value of advice of other people, and I think those who do not come out of a, either they've been burned before, or they are
Mm-hmm.
at this level where they're doing okay, but they're too arrogant to admit that they might need advice to get taken to the next level.
Yep.
And that in itself requires some clarity in itself. You know, you need to admit to yourself that you might need that advice. And it's actually something my older brother used to say to me is,
Okay.
I'm like, I'm not trying to put you down. I'm trying to give you advice because I've already made the mistakes that you are
Right.
going to make.
Uh-huh.
So you don't need to make them. You know, the advice.
Yeah.
And I think
Trying
coaches
to
in
help you.
that end
Yeah.
are very useful. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Is your brother older than you then, or
Yeah. Yeah. He's my
okay?
oldest brother. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That is cool. So, no, there's so much noise out there in the world. It's hard for somebody to decipher what is actually what is right, who's right. What opportunity is right is
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
it is very, very difficult on that. So, and I think that stops a lot of people too. So, and between the two of us, we're going to make, well, how long have you been doing what you're doing?
Like 7 years by now, I believe, something like
Okay.
that. Yeah, but
Very
I've
cool.
I've always been very entrepreneurial. You know, I was that kid selling candy at school.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
No, it's better than a 9 to 5. I can tell you that.
yeah,
So,
definitely, definitely. I
no,
like I used to do 9 to 5s, you know, and that was the most. And I'm not trying to take anybody down. If you're doing nine to
right.
five and you enjoy your job, that's great.
Yep.
That's fine. That is you. It's just not me. But that was the most humiliating thing I have ever done. You know, like
Uh-huh.
being paid so little for working so hard for 8 hours.
Ye-
That's, yeah,
yeah.
never
Sucks.
again. Yeah.
I'm with you. Never again. So, no, there's always something out there that you can do besides that. And I don't know if that's I don't know with COVID. Do your businesses over where you're at have problems getting people to work now? I mean, in the United States, we have people that there's a whole bunch. If you wanted a 9 to 5 right now, you could get. You can find them just about anyone because I think people realize that 9 to 5s are kind of a joke, so they're not coming back. They say the generation right now is lazy, which they're not, and at least that's what I have found. I mean, they're more entrepreneurial. They know better. It's just like I'm not going back to that. But so what was COVID like in Belgium?
It was very, very tough because, you know, like America, you guys, you were very lacking with the, like, a lot of Americans when they were told to put on a mask, they said fuck you, right?
Yep.
But in Belgium, that's not the case because, for example, my mom, she was traveling to my one of my brothers, and she gets stopped, like she got stopped on the road because they had one person too many, so they got fined 250 per person in the car, you know.
Wow.
But we didn't know that at the time, so that was $1,000, like €1,000 fine that had to be paid
50.
immediately. And yeah, so COVID was very tough in Belgium. Now I would
Oh
say
wow.
that America in that case has way more guts than Belgium.
Well, in Nebraska, where I'm at, our state didn't do any of it. We didn't do lockdowns. We had, there was places where we had to wear masks, like hospitals and stuff like that. But we didn't do any of it, and we
Yeah.
didn't even have that many cases either of COVID. So yeah, well, we're kind of. I mean, we're not like Texas because Texas is even much more than we are in
Yeah.
Nebraska. But you get in the central part of the United States, and we get very independent, and
Yeah.
we don't let people tell us too much what. And I don't know. That life
Did
kind of went on,
did it
as
affect your
normal.
business? Like, did it affect your business, COVID?
No, actually, everything. In fact, Nebraska did really well because we did never shut down any businesses.
Oh
Pretty
wow.
much everybody did really well. So
Yeah. And have you always been doing like coaching, or like have you run any other business
Actually,
beforehand?
before I did this, I did handyman business. I had a handyman
Wow,
business. Yeah, I had 150 clients before this,
Jesus.
and it which was good, but it ended up that I was doing more talking with the people than I was ever working for them.
Yeah,
It's like, can you do this one little job which took about 5 minutes, and then I talked to them the rest of the time, which was good because they paid me. And it's just like I should be doing something with talking, and that
yeah,
kind of got me transitioned over. And I mean, handyman was good. I had a lot of really nice clients. So, but no, when I started, when I was younger, I was very introverted. I didn't say anything. I was very, very quiet. And somebody said the other day, it's like, well, you really found your voice. It's like, yep, now you can't shut me up. But um, yeah, I have not always wanted. In fact, me being on stage would have, oh, I probably would have passed out thinking about that when I was younger.
yeah,
And I'm still thinking about. I'm working towards a TEDx talk. I don't know. You know TED Talks?
yeah. I do. Yeah,
Okay, I figured you probably okay. So towards that, and actually the TED organization is very good about helping you move towards that. But all this stuff that when I was younger, I would have said no way that was going to happen. That was not going to be me, and not even close. It's like I have to talk. So, but now, like I said, you can't. In fact, the other day I asked to be speakers in front of some high school students, coming
yeah.
up, and that kind of thing.
That's
So
exciting.
it
Yeah,
is exciting. It's very exciting. So it's just, and then I went to that. I don't know if you saw, probably didn't. That I'd gone. My wife and I went to Italy beginning of July, and we actually met a bunch of speakers over there
yeah.
in Naples. And actually, we're going to go next year. We're going to go to Iceland
Oh
and
wow.
meet as a group. But they're kind of a family. But this guy, this Jesse Cruz, that I'm kind of associated with, uh, is one that's kind of gotten helped me with the speaking thing, and he's trying to get me on. He's got competitions, speaking competitions, and he's got
Yeah,
one coming up in Niagara Falls at the end of September, and trying to get me to do that, which I have not done any speaking competitions yet. So
didn't even know that that was actually a thing.
I I didn't either until he said that. He says, "Oh, we're just there trying to help each other." And it's like, okay, that sounds all right, but I would be intimidated because it was a competition. If I wasn't doing that, but he's like, what did he say? Just do it, don't compare, and learn. And I don't know. It would be cool, but it would be I would be intimidated on that. So,
Yeah, no, I
but
mean, like you have to speak and compete at the same time, so there's this constant pressure, but on the other
yes,
hand, it is good practice.
yep.
So,
Yeah, it would be good, and I have a feeling he's not giving up on me on that.
yeah,
So, because he tells me he's like, he says, I don't care where you speak, he says as long as you speak. So he's been helping me with the podcast too, on that. So or wherever else. But yeah, it's interesting how life takes you from like cancer to where I am today. It's just
yeah,
very interesting.
definitely, definitely.
So
Actually, not that long ago, I saw this TikTok journey, and this person, unfortunately, he couldn't fight the cancer. He was terminally ill.
oh,
But he, like, when he found out he was terminal, he
yep,
decided to put together a bucket list, right, of everything
okay,
he wanted to do.
yep,
And throughout his period of the amount of time he still had to live, he took everybody on the journey of his bucket list.
wow, I love that.
So you could see everything he wanted to do, he did. And
Cool.
you also saw his goodbye, which was less fun, of course,
Mm,
and very unfortunate. But
yep.
things like that give you perspective, like
Oh yes,
life is a very short thing. And
it
I
is.
am a very strong believer in the idea of you don't want to die with regrets, like
Amen. Yep.
um it's way too short. I also think that because life is so short, it's beautiful, but a lot of people,
Yep.
they act like they're going to be 300 years old, 200 years old.
They do.
Yeah, well, in reality, you're constantly running out of time, and time is the only currency you
It
can't
is.
gain. It's not something you
Yep.
can win back.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess that, for example, in your wife's case, you were very lucky that she's very tough and got to
Oh
battle it.
yes. Very, very
But
blessed.
I also think that it gives a certain perspective and gives a new rejuvenation to your life where you're like, maybe we should do these things now, maybe no
Yep.
longer put them on hold. I think it's both an extremely difficult curse as well as in itself a blessing in disguise, like you get to
Really
enjoy
is. Yes.
life all over again.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You definitely see life when you decide you're going to start living your life because something like that comes up. It is, you do see life differently. That is for sure. So, and it is probably one of the hardest. Well, it was hardest for her, but it was hardest for me too because of all the stuff. I mean, watching her lose her hair, watching, going
Yeah.
downhill with it, because she had to have really intense chemo, and she had neuropathy develop, in her feet. But one day she had it in her face, so she couldn't even keep her mouth shut, couldn't hold food in. It was just all those things that you go through, and you just learn to deal with it because everybody's like, "How'd you deal with it?" And it's like, I had the easy part. She was the one beating the cancer, going through all of it.
Yeah.
But it just gets you to the next level. It's there truly is leveling up,
Mm.
and I found that more. And it's just like I talked to a guy the other day, and he said, "New level, new devil." And it's like, okay, I guess I know what you mean there. You level up, and then there's going to be more trials and tribulations to that you have to overcome to become the next person. So
Yeah, I mean the idea that anything is gonna be easy, that doesn't exist.
it doesn't.
Life isn't made for, like, humans aren't made to not suffer. I believe that life without suffering would be very boring. It's partially
Me
through
too.
suffering that we get to achieve new things.
Yep, I
Um,
agree.
it's only very sad that often people have to go through stuff first in order to have that sense of
It is.
urgency, but
Yeah,
often that is very much the case. Like,
it is.
it's very difficult to get out of bed if life is very positive and very good. It's very difficult to be dedicated on stuff that you want to achieve then because you feel very comfortable, right? And
Yeah.
I think by
Yep.
going through certain stuff, you build this sense of it has to happen now. And in itself, that will to, all right, we have to make the most out of it. I think that's something that far too little people have. But
I
once it is
agree.
there, then you would be surprised how much you can do in a year. That's crazy.
It is. It really is. Yeah, when you're dedicated to something and you take action, because well, most people don't take action. They may take action for a little
Exactly.
bit. Kind of like starting a diet. Like my wife always says, a diet's easy when your stomach's full,
Yeah,
or and that's like it's like you get the motivation and the adrenaline going, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna really do this goal. And it's when it really gets down to the when you're not motivated, or it's the discipline, that
yeah,
to carry on through, because if you don't have the discipline, you're probably not going to do it. I mean, I had a gal the other day. She wanted to know, she struggles with her weight, and she's like, "How do I not buy the ice cream, or how do I?" And it's like, you just don't do it. You have to have that mindset not to do it. It's
yeah,
not easy, if you really are craving that. Not easy, especially if you're close to a place that you can get ice cream. But or getting up. I'm a morning person, so I get up a lot of times at 4 or 5 in the morning. And people are
yeah,
like, it's just like, why do you, it's like, well, for one thing, I do it even if I wasn't a morning person. But you just have to have the mindset. You have to develop the mindset and the discipline that they become non-negotiable. That you're going
yeah,
to do it.
yeah.
You're going to do that. So, and I think that's the way anything worthwhile is going to be work. And there's going to be, because for one thing, if it was easy, you wouldn't appreciate it anyway. And
Exactly,
so and
exactly.
the comfort zone is, it's if you're comfortable, um, you're not really living your life. You're existing,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
and so I just now there's I think more people are waking up to that, especially right now, where you just have to do this to get the dream life and everything. So
Well, I
um,
think we live in a time and age, where life, a lot of people complain about the current situation of the world, but I would say that statistically, we have never had it better, right?
I would
Currently,
agree.
like anybody that says that life currently is difficult compared to, let's say, 50 years ago, they are idiots. I'm not
They
trying to be
are.
offensive, but they're idiots, right? Like you
Yep.
can start a business from your bedroom. You don't need stock. You don't need all that.
Anywhere.
Yeah,
Yep.
so like we have luxuries that nobody else has, but also that is partially one of the reasons why a lot of people complain that life is so difficult, because there's so much opportunity, so much to do, that it sometimes feels overwhelming and they just do nothing. They don't
True.
know what to do, you know?
True. I would
It's the
agree.
same as if you would like put yourself in a room with, let's say, 1,000 DVDs and you want to watch a movie. It's gonna take a while before you actually find one that you like to see, just
True.
because there's so much choice, you know?
Yep. Yep.
And we have so much choice nowadays that yeah, it's overwhelming.
It
So much
is.
options. Like if you would
Yep.
want to start a business back in the day, you would need stock, you would need location, you would need
You
fulfillment.
would.
You couldn't like just go online and order from a supplier. You need to build that situation, like you need to build that network, that connection. So
Yep. Yeah.
life
It would.
has become easier. Yeah.
It has. I mean, just for us to talk like this, I mean, we'd had to fly. We would have had to
Yeah.
take a plane trip or whatever, and a long plane trip. And it wouldn't. I mean, this is amazing that we're talking clear
Exactly.
across. It's like we're in the same room here.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so
So like I would say life has definitely become easier, and with all the instant gratification nowadays, I see a sincere lack of discipline. And discipline is for sure a learned behavior, right? It's something that
yep,
you
it
get,
is.
yeah, it's something that you learn by consistently doing, or something that puts you in the position to be disciplined, right?
Yep.
But and it is true that initially to get started you need good motivation, but I also would say that you like the reasoning behind why you do something has to be strong enough. What I mean by that is
Yes.
I struggled with weight my entire life, right? I used to be morbidly obese.
Okay.
And then I lost 50 kilos and I gained it all again for like
Hmm.
2 times. And the main reason I gained that is because I wasn't losing weight for me. I was losing weight
Uh,
for my family, for everybody around.
sure.
Um,
Okay.
because they seemed to want me to lose weight so badly. So I was like, okay, I will do it for you. But then once I said like I think it was at my brother's wedding, I was wearing the suit and I see
Right.
myself and I was like, holy shit, I need to do something about it.
Right.
So from there on, like I would never cheat a single day. I would just keep on running. I
Yep.
think a lot of people, the reason they want something just isn't strong enough for them to say, yeah, maybe I shouldn't eat that ice cream. Maybe I should wake up a little bit earlier, so
Yep.
that they
Yep.
get that step ahead. I think that's a big part of being disciplined, is the reasoning behind why you want something.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, it's got to be pretty strong, and you do. And sometimes it takes like where you saw yourself with your, it is just like kind of jar, and it's like you
Yeah,
do, and you do have to get that, and you have to keep making that because that's another thing. People ask me, it's like you keep to making that decision over and over again because there's
yeah,
going to be times where it's like I really, you like the ice cream. I really want that ice cream. Only one time. What's one time gonna hurt?
exactly.
And which can be all right, but sometimes that's the slippery slope where you go back into old patterns. And
Yeah,
and I can relate with you in the weight because I actually have fought with my weight for most of my life too. In fact, my parents, when I was in fifth grade, put me on a diet because I was like 60 pounds overweight.
yeah,
So yeah, I can relate with that, and that is especially when there's a lot of good foods around and the way
yeah.
you've kind of learned how to eat. And it's definitely a different mindset. It is very much a mindset on that. So yeah, there's just a lot of obstacles, but also worth it. So
Yeah, I think a lot of people when they start something, it's very easy to be very motivated and very goal
yep,
driven when
yep,
it's very good, when the times are very good. But the idea that life is always gonna like even people who are performing at a high level, they will reach a breaking point at some point,
they
right?
will.
The
Yep,
difference is that those days are the days that matter, you know. I
They
even
are.
put this rule into place when I go to the gym and I'm feeling off, like I'm having an
Okay.
off day and I'm starting to battle myself, like, oh, maybe Brent, you know, like you already ran 20 minutes. Maybe you should now just quit. Nobody's gonna, like, nobody's watching, you know. Then I tell myself,
Yeah,
instead of 30 minutes, now I have to run 35 minutes because those are the days that matter, you know.
they are very much.
Because I feel like two little people, like, yeah, it's very cool. You won a lot of battles here because it's going to be like it's great, you know, you're very motivated, bills
Yep.
are paid, you got nothing to worry about. But suddenly everything goes downhill, and that's very
It
important.
does.
You know, like
Yeah.
how are you gonna act then? And I think it's only, I would say that's the most important part of people trying to achieve what they want to achieve, is how they
Yep.
perform when things
Yeah. On those
aren't that
days.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they are
Because
defining, you know?
they are. And we all have those days. And
Yeah,
a lot of times you do not know when those days are going to be either.
yeah,
I mean, you can go to bed and have the best day and wake up and then have one of those days.
yeah,
And yeah, because there's days like, oh, I really don't want to do whatever, I always like to do a podcast, so that's not a thing. But there's a lot of things that go with the business and stuff. It's like I can do it tomorrow,
yeah,
and it's like you just have to make it's like nope, I got to do it today because it is. It's just it's like what you were saying. The 20 minutes is like you can kind of cheat, and it's like not really. You're only cheating yourself,
yeah,
and
exactly.
so it's
Exactly.
just
The
go
thing
ahead.
is, what a lot of people don't realize is by allowing yourself to, let's say, if I would say, okay, it's good that 20 minutes, you can stop at 20 minutes. The next day, I'm gonna have that same battle and I'm gonna apply the same rule. You know,
You will.
you're building this sense of, okay, it's same as with the ice cream. You know,
Yep,
it's okay to have cheat meals in place. Even
it
like
is.
I recommend people have cheat meals in place because you have something to look forward to. You should
True.
have a day of rest. You should have
Sure. Right.
something that you can use to reset yourself. I get that. Some
Yep.
people do need that. I personally am not that kind of person. But I do see why that's useful, but by doing that too much and allowing that when it's not instated to be so, you
Yep.
build the routine of, yeah, maybe I should be able to. And that one ice cream is not gonna affect you, but if you're gonna keep doing that, then yeah,
It
eventually,
will.
well, yeah. As
Yeah.
with almost everything like that, you know, if you're gonna skip out on each meeting because you don't feel like it, then eventually your business is also gonna collapse, you know?
Yeah. It will. Yeah. And it's just it's how you well it's how you do anything. How you do
Yeah.
one thing is how you do. What is it? Somebody says when how you do one thing is how you do everything, and it is very true. And it is just like you just have to have even on the worst of those days you have to just and I agree with the cheat days, but you just have to have it. It's like I'm getting up no matter what,
Yeah.
and it's just like, well, if you're training for a marathon or something, it's like it
Yeah.
would be easy to just like I don't need to train for that day, and you're gonna really when you get to the marathon, you're gonna really wish you had trained all those days,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so, but it's just well, you get the results of what you get, what you put in, you're gonna get back out,
Yeah.
and so
Now,
so
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
I was
What you
gonna
gonna say?
ask you by with all that said, right? With knowing all that, where has been the moment where you struggled the most, knowing like you were getting into this coaching business? I can imagine it being very intimidating as well, right?
Extremely intimidating. Yeah, it's actually imposter syndrome kicked in. It's just like, oh, I don't know anything. It's just like, who wants to listen to me?
Yeah.
It's just that, and that still to this day kicks in. It's just like, well, nobody's gonna miss me if I don't do it. Nobody's gonna miss an episode of the podcast if I don't do it. And being up on and speaking in front of people, it's just like they'll never know I was going to speak there unless I was being featured or something like that. It's
Yeah.
just it's pretty much it's the imposter syndrome kicking in that I don't have anything to offer,
Yeah.
and that is something I have struggled with for pretty much my whole life. It's better than it's ever been right now, but it's still there's days where um, that voice kicks in my head, and it's just like, really, what do you think? You should just go back to doing handyman, or something that and it's like, then you have to have that voice and say, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway. Just go ahead, and it's just like, it is, because it's there. It's just like, and I tell my wife, it's just like, no, that I don't know if it's universe, what it is afraid of what I'm going to become. So it's just like, it makes me that more motivated that I'm going to do it. It's just like, yeah, I have something to offer. Everybody has something to offer. Everybody wants to make a difference, and I believe everybody can make a difference. And you just have to tell that voice to take a hike. And
Yeah.
but yeah, it was extremely intimidating, especially when I went to I got where my training for my coaching in San Diego, and it was a 3-day deal, and I really wasn't used to traveling and then coming together with a group of people from all over. I'm still kind of surprised I did that, and then laying out the money, because it was, after that moment, it was the biggest money I'd ever spent on myself, because that was 10,000 bucks that I
Oh,
started out.
wow. Yeah.
And I actually did that. I still, after that, I about passed out, because it's like, I did that. It's just, and it definitely is a process, and it almost made me sick to my stomach that I did that. But I think just taking the steps and just going forward and just being determined, because I was so determined. Well, I was so determined when I was quiet, because I hated being quiet. And I knew then I wanted to be something different. And it wasn't until college that I started coming out of kind of my shell, I guess. And I just decided I was going to make a difference. And then with my wife's cancer, it's just like, you need to do that now. And but yeah, it's just. Or I had my first event coming up on a year in October, my
Yeah.
in-person event, called Impact. And if that wasn't intimidating, to say the least,
Yeah.
because oh my gosh, and I'd had speakers sign up, and then they would have to back out. The venue changed like 3 times, and they ended up. My coach is like, I got to the point where it is what it is, but it was me. It was all me. I was the one running this event,
Yeah.
and let me tell you, oh my gosh, was that intimidating? But after that, I was so pumped that it's just like, I got to keep doing this. But yeah, there's been a lot of intimidation, a lot of things that it's just like, I can't believe I'm doing this, and but I
Yes.
am.
And now, when you have one of those days, right, where you feel like your voice isn't important, that you're not being heard, nobody cares, what is it you do to get through that?
A lot of times I go out. I like nature, and where I live is I'm out in the middle of nowhere, basically. So I like to go with nature and just take maybe. I haven't run as much this year, but in past years I've run. A lot of times I would run when the sun's coming up, and there's so much clarity in nature, I find. And it's just like, nothing changes if nothing changes. And I kept telling myself that it's like, you do have something to offer.
Definitely.
It's gonna be scary. Anything new is gonna be scary. And it's just like, plus I was just fed up with being a person who basically painted on the side, was on the sidelines all my life. And it's just like, you were put here, and I believe everybody was put here for a reason. And it's like, you're not filling out, fulfilling your reason that you're here, and there was days where I get so down on myself and negative, and it's like, you have to do it, because if I did it, then I got pumped up. It's like, because I was taking action, and I just to the point where I got fed up. I was so tired of myself not taking action that I went that way rather than going the other way. And it's just like, and now it has become kind of addictive. I learn one thing, I do one thing, it's like, I got to do the next thing, and because I can tell you, a few years ago, I'd have never flown to Italy to do that, and meet all those people, which were all awesome, and Italy was awesome. And so yeah, it's just, I think it builds on itself. But those days, they're tough. They can be really tough. You get
Yeah.
so down on yourself, and and there are days where I didn't. There was days that didn't always work that way,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
a lot of times the next day I get a good night's sleep, and or try to, and it's just like, you've come this far. Why would you want to come this far just to come this far?
Yeah.
There's people. Well, and there's people, which people tell me that people are waiting for your voice. People are waiting for you to show up in their life. Somebody said that you're their prayer being answered, and it's like, okay, never thought of it that way. So, so yeah, that motivates me now to I don't have very many of those days anymore. I mean, pretty much every day I look forward to. uh,
Yeah.
I look forward to all this, everything that entails. So
What's
the
your
what's that?
well, what's your favorite part of your business? What's your favorite thing to do?
Seeing the a light bulb moment when somebody gets it, it's just like, or you're making a difference there. And it's just like, oh, that I never thought of that. Maybe I could make a difference. They've been kind of struggling their whole life, and it's when they actually, it's like, yeah, I can do this, and they're motivated. They're pumped because it's like I can do that. Because most people, I believe, just kind of exist. They just go and do their work and whatever,
Yeah.
and get to retirement, and then they're the end of their life. But when I can wake somebody up basically to the possibilities and they get it, there's nothing better. It's so awesome. It is so awesome. I love that part. And that's why, with a TED Talk or even just speaking in front of stages, on stages, it's just like how many more people I can talk to right there that would get
Yeah.
it rather than just doing like more one on one and small groups. And, but yep, that's my favorite is when people, when it resonates with them and they get it and they know it's possible because I tell them everything's possible. Even the word says it.
Yeah.
Everything's possible. Got to believe, but everything's possible. So
What would you
yep.
say is the most memorable, um, I would say, event that you had with your business? Like, when was like something you will never forget working with your customers?
Hmm. That would probably be this gal that's in local, and I still touch bases with her, and she's had a rough life, and she has become such an amazing person. I mean, she helps so many people. She really has taken it to heart. I mean, she's just doing. She's living she's walking the walk, and when I she exuberates positivity. She's happy. I'm sure there's times where she's not, but when she's out in public and what she's doing, um, she's living her dream. That is what she's doing,
Yeah.
and that's uh, I won't say her name, but she's amazing, and she would have reasons to not be happy because of her life's been so tough. Up to when she was doing this, and
Yeah.
but yeah, she came to the event. She got up and spoke at the event. She told me it was her very first time speaking anywhere, and
Wow.
yeah, when she was, I think she was at the same point I was. She just was so tired of being in that place before that she was going to make a difference. Change no matter what,
Yeah.
and she has. And and since she's local, she supports me in whatever I do now. She's one of my, I don't know, fan, but she's a supporter.
A
She's just awesome.
cheerleader.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, and yeah, and that's another thing with all this. I meet so many awesome people, and we're all going through something. We're all definitely going through something, and
Definitely.
it's kind of like getting together in a group, and it's it's awesome to hear. Well, I think a burden shared is halved or something like that, and I think that's really cool about it too because you get in a group and you just realize everybody's kind of going through the same thing. It just That's kind of what we when we were in Italy. Those people all speakers, but they were all going through something too, and
Definitely.
we became family almost immediately. That's why we decided we're going to Iceland next year. So, but yeah, it's so cool. Anybody who has never done this, and I mean, that's another reason I just want to get people to that point. It's like you don't know how good life can get. It can get so good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be every day's good, but the majority of it's really, really good. And and that's another thing. People ask me, it's like, so when do you work and when do you play? It's like it's the same. I don't have a really distinction because when I'm working, it seems like play. I guess I'm in flow, and I don't know. It's just so awesome. It is so awesome. I mean, it's just I am so glad that I took all that action and decided to get to the point where I'm at, to the point where I'm talking to you today. So, which is
Yeah, I
so
would
cool.
say if you really are at the point where what you're doing feels like it's something that you enjoy doing, it's something that you look forward to doing, and you have definitely chosen the right path.
Yep. Yes.
Um,
Amen.
Like I think entrepreneurs often work the hardest out of everybody. Like we
I
we don't
agree.
have 8-hour days. Yeah,
No.
sure, we get bigger
Yeah.
paychecks
It kind of.
often, but
Yep.
you have to work extremely hard. Like like I have days where I sleep 4 hours, maybe three
Yep.
hours, but I also have days where I sleep 8 hours, right? And
Right.
it isn't
Right.
necessarily because I have to work that hard, but it's because I want to, because I don't
You
see it as
do.
work.
There's a
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
And
Definitely a difference. And
like,
that's what I tell people that don't know the entrepreneurial lifestyle. It is. I mean, you have the potential to be on, working at any time of the day. You just have to do what has to be done at that time. But like you
exactly.
say, then there's times where you don't, and because that's I tell them that's a hard question because there is no set hours when you're doing this. It's just like you might work. Well, I did a podcast the other day at 4 o'clock in the morning with a
Yeah.
gentleman in Ireland, and it's just like which was cool, except the internet went down about halfway through, and so but just goes with the actually I think the next one was even better, but it was just like we both, well, he wasn't so early for him, but I worked out that it would work out on my time at 4 a.m. here, which
Oh
was not a
wow.
problem because I get up early anyway. So but yeah, they somebody I guess, but it's worth it. Don't you think it's worth it to do that?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, not only do you get like a lot of freedom and stuff, but
Yep.
like you have to work most of your life,
Hmm.
literally 8 hours a day, and 8 hours is a long time.
It is.
Um, and if you're going to regret the time you spend doing that, then that's wrong, then you're doing
It
something
is.
like you're literally wasting that time. And I think that time is one of the most valuable things,
It is.
because
Yep.
you can't win it back.
You cannot.
Um, I think that, like if you are an entrepreneur, yeah, you have to work very, very hard and especially in the beginning, right? Like a lot
Hmm.
of
Oh yeah.
us,
Traction.
like we're at the levels, especially most of the people that I speak with, they're at a level where they don't really have to work. I don't have to work either. My businesses are automatic, most of them,
Right.
but it's more so that I want to work. It's an addiction. I want to be
It
present. I
is.
want to be better.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely addiction. Yeah, it's just like, oh, I could probably do that, or I could do that. It's
yeah,
just like, and no, there's so many. Well, that's like I like going to events like in Vegas, and I like to get in proximity of people doing what I'm doing.
yeah,
I actually like the speakers, but I like the people that are doing what I'm doing, or or
yeah,
entrepreneurial, and I find that's addictive too
yeah,
because it's
definitely.
just like I could talk to those people. I think the last one I went to had like 6,000 people at the event, and
Yeah,
it was
awesome.
just so amazing. It's just, um, and that it's just so many people. Their stories. Everybody's got a story, and and it's like what they're doing, and it's like I never thought about that. And
Yeah,
but yeah, it's the only way to go. I mean, I went out of college. I did restaurant management for a little bit, and it was just like 100-hour weeks. And it's like, why would anybody want to live their life this way? I didn't hold out for restaurant management very long. Oh my gosh, it was for a chain, and I might as well have stayed there because I was always there. And it's like
yeah,
that's not living.
no,
You're being
that's not.
controlled by them. And yeah, I was making pretty good money out of it right off the start. But it's like you say, you can't get the time back though.
No,
And
exactly. I
so
think like at a certain point you get over this, and a lot of people they call it arrogant, right? They say, yeah, but it's easy talking when you have the money. But a lot of people they get over like they get so bound to the idea of money, and I feel that first of all, if you're
yep,
so bound to the idea of money and you're so in need of making that, like you're so focused on making that, you're first of all gonna miss out because that means
you
that
you
everything
will.
around it is gonna revolve around it.
Yep,
Um, while you refuse to see the bigger picture. And
yep,
if you have to spend all that time doing something you dislike for money,
yep.
believe me, that's time you're gonna regret.
It will.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
And I think that's one of the biggest regrets when people are on their deathbed. All the stuff that they wish they'd have done and didn't do. And
yeah,
all the time they wasted. And and probably wasn't all wasted, but a lot of it's wasted when you're just doing a job, especially when you don't like.
Yeah,
And I think that's probably the majority of people. So and just know that there's such another path out there that is probably easier to get into the path than it's ever been. Like we were talking earlier, with all today's technology and all the resources. And
exactly.
so yeah, just I tell everybody, just it's like, what are you going to do if you don't try it? You're always going to wonder if you didn't. What
Yeah,
what would have been. And I find people that chase money, well, people that chase anything basically chase it away. I always am out there. It's like, put out the person you are and let the people come to you. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, you're going to have to, especially at the beginning, you have to chase some things and get into something. But I have people on Messenger which immediately start selling to me. Their op, and it's just like, I don't even know you. It's just like, let's, how about I get to know you a little bit before you start selling to me. And it's like, and I can understand that, but I don't think they know how actually to do it. But I had 3 people yesterday do that. It's just like, you might have the best opportunity out there, but you got to show me how this is
yeah,
before I'll ever, it's like today we got a great deal, and it's like, now you're not getting any of my money, especially in something like this right away. And but no, it's a cool world, and that's another thing. It's just, people are just like, well, the world is a beautiful place. It is. There's going to be definitely stuff that's not, but I would say, and just like Italy, people told me I needed to watch about pickpockets in Italy. I never ran into anybody like that in Italy, and I was in Naples and Sorrento and Positano, and all the people were so kind, and probably like where you're at too, I would guess. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, depends where you go, right? Like if you go to Brussels, then you will face some pickpockets. But they're not as common as people say. Like
mhm.
if you listen to them, it's almost as if you get pickpocketed as soon as you get into Brussels. It's not the case.
Yeah, that's what they
Um,
would.
I've
Yeah,
went to Milan, and unfortunately, I have been pickpocketed, or
have
well,
you? Okay,
yeah, my girlfriend at the time, but it was very stupid. It was so stupid and so obvious that it happened in front of us, and we let it happen because we were so flabbergasted by what they were
right,
doing
right,
that we didn't like. We were like, what the fuck is happening?
right.
Like we were
Yeah,
sitting at this McDonald's, and this guy comes over with a page with the refrigerators on it, and he puts the refrigerator thing on like on the table and takes my
right.
girlfriend's wallet, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Wow, wow.
But
Talk
by
about
the time
blatant.
that we realized that he was doing that, he was already gone. And yeah, I
Wow,
mean, I didn't care so much about the money, even though back then we didn't really make any good money.
right.
um but she, at the time, like, you need your passport, you need your ID to travel.
Yeah,
And that was an issue. And well,
yeah.
we got back because apparently the borders between Belgium and Italy are very lacking. We got in Belgium back without any ID. So that's a
Oh wow.
yeah,
Okay.
that's maybe a bit dangerous, but it was very
Yeah.
easy. Um, but yeah, I mean, other than that, Italy was quite great. Um, it was just so stupid that we saw it happen, but we were so,
Couldn't believe your eyes,
yeah,
probably. Yeah, what was happening right there?
like, also, why would you show us a paper with refrigerators, right? Um,
Yeah, it's
like as
trashy,
if
I suppose.
somebody in a McDonald's is gonna buy a refrigerator. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah,
very,
that's a unique way to do that. I don't know. But that's kind of when we before we went to Italy, everybody's like, you had to watch. They were saying they were pickpocketing you, and they told me a lot of things weren't true. It's like, well, you're going to need to know Italian. I didn't really run into anybody that couldn't speak English. It
yeah,
was
me
language
neither.
was never a problem. And
No.
then they said, well, you got to do the euros, which I did exchange for euros, but most everybody took a card. It was just like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't even have to do that, and everybody, I mean, I thought I was going to die in Naples because I don't think they have any. Oh my gosh, it's just like we go and the way those people drive, and then we come up to those roundabouts and people
Yeah.
back up, and oh my gosh, that's definitely different than here. I mean, the taxi driver was doing a good job. We made it, but it's like, wow, what did I get myself into? But
Italy is crazy when it comes to traffic, like
oh yeah,
really
yeah.
crazy.
I had somebody say they said, "Well, stop signs and stoplights were suggested," and it's like, I really didn't see many stoplights or traffic lights anywhere. So, uh, but no, the people were all very friendly. It was Naples is kind of a dirty city with all, especially downtown. Where
Yeah.
they've got so much of the stuff tagged with, and it's which is too bad. But um, everybody's really cool. And our taxi driver got us to the wrong motel place where we were staying. Right name, but the wrong one. And it's just like he says, "You want me to take you back?" It's like, no. And so we got there, and the guy's like, "Oh, I know where you're supposed to stay." He says, "I'll just tell him you're not coming here if you want to stay here." And the guy took care of us. He was Carlo was his name, and treated us really well. And no, everybody was awesome. The trains, we took a lot of the trains in Naples, which was really cool. And no, we never. I mean, it was the whole experience was really good. It was really good over there. So okay. For how close are you to the Italian with the border there where you're at?
like like I think an hour or two with the plane,
Okay, not, not
because
too
we went
far.
obviously with the plane, but you can go with car. Um,
Okay,
but I like I knew it wasn't gonna be a problem, but my ex, she was a lot of a worrywart, so
okay.
she was freaking out. And um yeah, that was very scary, because
Oh
if you have
yeah,
confidence, they are often gonna leave you alone. But if you're like twitching and being scared, then you're
I
often
can
gonna
pick
be
up on
picked
that.
out. um
Mm-hmm.
but
Yep.
luckily, even though we did get picked out, they didn't really care. They didn't even ask our ID. So
Wow.
I was both disappointed with our border control as well as happy to be back in Belgium. That was
Yeah.
a very good thing.
At that time, it was good when it was kind of lax. It was
Yeah.
really good then. So, no, I'm
Oh,
glad we
you
didn't lose the passport because everybody. I mean, they were good. I mean, everybody because we flew to Germany first to get to Italy, and everybody was wondering our passport and stuff, but everybody was really cool about it. Sometimes it was very very brief, and it's like
yeah,
that's it. You know, actually, it wasn't until we got back in the United States that it was. Oh my gosh, it was coming in the United States. It was
it's
ridiculous.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, hey, I'm a citizen here, and but you would have never known that. So
No,
it
it's
was just
very
like,
difficult to get into the States. Very
oh,
difficult.
I couldn't believe it. It took hours to get through all that, and it's just like, okay, I guess they're doing a lot, but it was just like I thought. For one thing, I wouldn't have wanted to been all those people going through all those people that in detail.
Yeah.
That was amazing. So that was actually the worst part of the trip. Otherwise, everything else was. And that's so where you're at. What does Belgium look like where you're at? I mean, what's the terrain?
I live in like the south part of Belgium, which is more foresty. There's more hills here, more stuff like that. So I
Okay.
am not really considered in the city. Um,
Okay.
so I live in what they call the country of Belgium, right?
Okay.
Which is crazy scary because I never knew that um cows could be frightening.
Uh
Like
huh.
we have a lot of cows here.
Okay.
And this one time I'm sitting in my car, and out of nowhere there's like in front of me this cow jumping into a bunch of bushes. And I
Okay.
didn't see it happen. And then I see two farmers running behind the cow, like it's
Oh,
quite
that's pretty
funny.
good.
Well, I
Uh,
would say that the States, like going to the States, was both my favorite and my worst experience ever, just because it's so difficult to get in there. And they
yeah.
don't care if you're not gonna catch your plane. They will just put you on the next one. They don't care about your
True.
time.
They don't. No, they don't. I mean, and I've had problems with TSA, even with being, just going through TSA in our airports. I had one in San Diego, in California, where they kept me for 2 hours. And it's just like they kept running me through it. It's like, so what are you finding? It's like, nothing. It's like, can I go? And they told me to be quiet if I wanted to go through another time. It's like, okay. And they ended up taking some of my clothes. And
Yeah,
it's just they
that's
took
horrible.
a nice jacket that I had for my suit and a hat, cap, whatever. And it's just like, well, I guess I can replace us, but that's wrong. That is so wrong when they do that.
It's
So,
definitely like. I remember when I went to the States for the first time, and I had never been to the States, right? But we needed to go from Chicago to Colorado.
Okay.
And I was going to a client because it was a work meeting slash business acquaintance. And but his son was supposed to pick us up at the airport
Okay.
because he would drive us to the location. And in Chicago, like my battery was almost done for. I didn't
Uh,
have data because I'm in a foreign country, you know.
right.
So not only were we delayed because they kept us there for like an hour and a half, and that was before we even got to the talking part, right?
Yep.
um and then by the time we went to get our plane, the plane was gone, so we had to wait. Now my battery is empty. Both me and my ex, we were extremely exhausted because
I
everybody
bet.
says we're gonna sleep on the plane, but the
Yeah.
first time you're traveling to a new country, 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna sleep, right?
No, definitely.
So you're
Yep.
sitting there very exhausted, no way to contact people that were supposed to pick you up. Um, yeah, it was definitely one of my most unpleasant experiences.
I can understand that. So how did you get how'd you get your phone charged again? Did you
I put on like I had like two whenever I put on my phone, I get like 2%. So I knew that I had to make it quick. And I didn't have
right.
Wi-Fi, so that one single text cost me $60 because
Oh
as soon
wow.
as I put on my data, it started swallowing the data, right?
Oh yeah.
So I put on my data, said, "Hey, we're gonna be late," and then the time, and then I put it back off. But by the time I put my data off, I spent €60, you know. So
Wow.
that was very like that was a shitty
That's
moment.
that yeah, definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All the stuff of traveling too, especially with so we're in Colorado, were you going to Denver then or
No, I was going to where was it? Whew, don't quite remember, but we've
okay.
been like all over the place. Yeah.
Okay. So did you go in the Rocky Mountains then and when you were in Colorado?
We went to Palm Springs so to see Pikes
Oh,
Peak.
okay.
Yeah, been on top of
Okay.
Pikes Peak, and that's
Nice.
definitely another recommendation because that crushes your lungs. It's very, very
There's not
tough.
much air up there.
Yeah.
No. No, I'm not too far. I'm actually next state over. So yeah, I go to Colorado quite a bit. So um, it's a lot different than Nebraska. I mean, this talk about cows. We definitely have the cows and the corn and all that stuff. And I mean, we have other stuff too, but there's definitely a lot of that and a lot of openness, to say the least. So, but
Yeah.
well,
Anyway, it was very nice having you. We're running out of time, so I'm gonna have to call it quits. Before we go, is there a way for people to reach you? Is there something that you can, like, ways they can reach out to you?
They can actually reach me. Website is actually compassforyourlife.com. Actually, they can go to the Dreamcatcher podcast if they want to comment there. That's on 18 different things. It's on Spotify. It is. I have a Facebook group, Impact, you know, which is also part of this. And they can just reach out to my Facebook page. I'm on there all the time. It's just
Yeah.
and I'm on Instagram, actually putting all these podcasts that I've been doing up on YouTube. I'm on all the socials. I think the only one I'm maybe not as on is Snapchat. Do TikToks, I do all that stuff. So they can probably find me, wherever. But with the podcast, probably the most. But just my name and Mark Red Larsen, and they find me on Instagram. Anywhere if you look, you'll find me. So
People listening, I will put it in the description, obviously. I do
okay,
recommend that if you are stuck where you're at or you're looking for a new path, then you could definitely reach out to Mark. Um,
thank you.
and again, thank you for having you. It was a
Well,
blast.
thank
Oh boy.